Now, guys, I've made millions of dollars at the age of 20, and I'd say I kind of have a bit of a weird view on sort of life as a whole. And one of the biggest questions I get, and kind of biggest demands, I should say, or people asking me is, well, what do you do on a day-to-day basis? Does it get boring? Now, if you watched some of my previous videos, you'd probably have known my rant sessions where I kind of carry on about, how life feels after doing the numbers I've done. I kind of want to walk you through, and obviously I've made videos on this exact thing before as well, the dopamine you kind of get from making thousands of dollars and whenever you wake up and get payments, how that sort of feels and the feelings that go into that. So what I wanted to kind of do today is maybe run you guys through kind of where I live, how my life is sort of structured, how I check how much I've made on a day-to-day basis, the dopamine receptors that go off when doing that. And yes, I think it's going to be quite exciting. Let's get straight into it. Now, this is probably the first time you've kind of seen me outside of the room that we kind of do in videos, but this is where I wake up. Obviously the bedroom, got the plaque on the wall right kind of there, massive wing tree. What I'm going to do is actually turn it around so you guys can kind of see better. So of course we wake up, this is kind of where, the magic happens in the beginning. Of course we have the plaque, we have the TV. This is really not where I spend most of my time. Honestly, I do have a different place that I kind of live over in Melbourne. Of course, this is based in Sydney, Australia. This is my second house, or I should say I live with my parents still in this specific house. And then over in Melbourne, I live with my business partner that we kind of work on Snapchat shows with. But next thing is, of course, where I wake up, where I kind of get my dopamine. First things first, I don't usually check my phone first thing in the morning. I've noticed it kind of fucks with your dopamine receptors, if I'm being completely honest. So what I initially do is I obviously wake up, have a shower, and then I'll show you my favorite part of the house. So of course we go downstairs. I'm going to give you guys a bit of a house tour again. It is a little bit early to have, Christmas set up, but as you guys can see, we've obviously set up a Christmas tree, have the back outside area, of course, pool, kind of like a little placebo thing. Then of course, my mom is like a design freak, so we have this whole thing kind of set up in a nice way. But this is where my favorite part of the house is for sure. Now this is the garage. Of course, you guys can see right here. When I walk into here, this is kind of how I start all of my days. If I go ahead and turn on the light. So walking into the garage, we obviously have the sauna right here. This is a game changer. It was like $10,000. We got a really, really nice sauna. And then of course the ice bath, can never go wrong with that. But yes, I tend to kind of start things off with, of course, a sauna in the morning. That kind of wakes me up. It's sort of how I go about my day as a whole. And then I'll usually hit the gym. And then obviously when I get home from the gym and I'm obviously back home, my first thing is of course checking revenue, kind of replying to my mentorship clients and just overall doing some work. So let me show you my station, I guess you could say, of where that kind of happens. So of course, walking back upstairs, you finally come to where I kind of do my work. Now this is my second office. As I said to you guys before, we kind of have a main place over in Melbourne. So of course have my plaques on the walls there, have my little whiteboard. Lazy. We won't read that, but it kind of goes through kind of my goals. So vlog channel, better funnel, TubeRite, which was my old SaaS. I haven't cleared this in a very long time. Pre-monetized, obviously my website where you can get pre-monetized channels, obviously have me. And then of course we have the workstation. So what I want to do is kind of run you guys through how much we've made today, kind of the process that kind of goes into that. And oh, it just turned off, but let me go ahead and pull that up. So if you guys don't already know, we have kind of multiple streams of income. So of course I just woke up today, obviously going to go ahead and blur out the name of this business. Specifically, this is on WAP, $3,000 today, USD, of course, in this specific one. Last 7 days, we have approximately $10.9 thousand on this specific business. But of course, we have multiple of these and they scale past even just YouTube and Snapchat as a whole. But yes, that's sort of an insight on what I do on a day-to-day living, kind of structured around that. Now, it can get boring, yes, and kind of the way I do things is, of course, working from this point onwards. But what I want to do is obviously show you a few more things kind of in a better way that's kind of more organized. So I'm going to pop up my screen. And by the way, guys, apologies in advance if that microphone was pretty shit. I bought this like $700 mic for a phone and it doesn't even work. So I kind of have to just work with what I have for now. But what I'm going to do is pull up some of my Snapchat shows. Now, I'm obviously going to go ahead and blur a bunch of the names. But if we go ahead and check revenue on this specific one today, and we press here, we can see today we made $508. Then I'll pop through a different one. Then this is a brand new show that we only just recently started. As you guys can see today, it also did $358 in revenue. And that was, of course, my second portal. We're finally into kind of the big boys and the big dogs where most of the money takes place. So this is, of course, one of our big 60 shows. We obviously have about 60 Snapchat shows. Now, if I go ahead and press revenue, you guys can see today we did $2.5 thousand. Sitting at 55 grand this month in revenue. CPM is about $10. We're finally getting into kind of Q4 where revenue just absolutely spikes. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think we're going to have some massive months. Of course, pop up a few other ones. There's a couple left I can go ahead and show you. Obviously, don't want to go through all of them. This one's finally started taking off, $522 a day, cheeky little half a grand. And then lastly, we'll pull up this one, $744. That should be kind of enough to show you the dopamine we get. Now, we have actually created a kind of tracker that goes through all of our shows, all of our different avenues, and merges them all into one place. I would show you that, but the problem is we're getting some renovations done to the website at the moment, so it's kind of a little bit broken. But what I wanted this video to be is kind of walk you through what I sort of do on a day-to-day basis, how I sort of work, and kind of a little bit of an insight on my feelings overall, which I'm going to get into a little bit in a second, kind of what I do and the dopamine I kind of get from it. Now, of course, it is a weird feeling, guys. I'll wake up and of course, I don't check my phone. I would say one of the biggest kind of factors and things I've noticed is that I used to be very, very fat. I'm going to go ahead and put up a photo on the screen right now of what I used to look like. I'm scared, guys. This is what it looked like now as well. I'll give you both photos so you can kind of see the difference. But when I was fully locked in, I want to tell you guys something that I would say is really important and somewhat resonated with me a lot. And I can tell you this from experience. Never sacrifice your health for making money. Now, what I mean by that is I've never made as much money as I have when I've locked in on health and focused on my mental kind of clarity overall. When I was sitting at home and I was grinding on Discord all day and just kind of working on making a lot of money, yes, I was getting more work done, but the kind of mental clarity you have simply isn't worth it. As my kind of thing is now, I go to the gym every single day. I have one day off from running PPL at the moment. Obviously, sauna, ice bath. I eat exceptionally healthy. I track all my macros, and I've can kind of say with kind of positivity and certainty that that's somewhat rubbed off on my everyday life as a whole. I mean, I get a lot more work done. I don't get anywhere near as much brain fog as I used to. And obviously that's not what this video is about. I don't want to yap about health and kind of preach that onto you guys because I know most of you don't give a shit. But for those of you that do, prioritize health, guys. It will make you work so much fucking better than you have previously. It gives you the most mental clarity I've ever got before. But of course, what I'm really trying to get at here is that I work on my health, obviously, is my primary factor. And then, of course, business comes second. So when I obviously get on my computer after kind of running through my day, I look at kind of what I've done. Now, one issue I'd say I struggle with and what I want to get into a bit later is enjoy the time you have when making money is fun. This is something I've said many, many times, but it still really resonates with me. And that's the fact that when you're first starting out and making money is so fucking exciting and you wake up with that fire inside of you and you're almost excited to go ahead and check your phone, that is something you guys should absolutely cherish and just love that time where you have when making money, and the dopamine you get is astronomically fun. Now, I'm of course going to go ahead and kind of blur what I'm looking at. Once again, not showing this to flex. I'm of course going to blur the majority of the things. But what I was saying is, of course, this is my main bank account that we have on, not invested at all. This is just pure liquid. Obviously $1.2 million in this account. And I can of course go ahead and refresh the page if need be. But this is where it kind of gets important, right? This used to be my favorite thing. I'm of course going to blur out all the information. But as you guys can see, last 30 days, we have like 76K coming in, 71K going out. That's of course just transferring it to different accounts and obviously investment portfolios. But this is what I mean. You guys can see it's of course the 17th of October today, or November, sorry. Guys, I don't even know what day of the week it is. That's how out of it I am. But as you can see, 17th, we of course received 4.3 grand profit. Of course, this is a remittance. When you were young, or not even so much young, but when you're first starting out on your sort of entrepreneurial journey, you will have these days where you, of course, get those payments in your bank account and you hear the cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Savor where that feels in your heart. And what I mean by that is when you get those feelings, like whenever you hear that sound effect, you eventually become immune to it. You might hear this with a lot of e-com guys that kind of do e-commerce. And after they have run it for many, many years, that Shopify cha-ching, cha-ching kind of gets old. When you are starting out and you're initially making money and that feeling of money hitting your account just feels fucking amazing, that's what you need to savor. That is the type of dopamine you need to chase, not all this bullshit from going out clubbing, drinking, doing drugs, all that stuff. Chase that dopamine you get from making money, because I can promise you, as somebody who's done this before, as you guys can see, like the 16th, 4.3, the 15th, 2.8, 328, 500, it just always consistently comes. 14th, 5.8. It's very, very often that this happens, right? And whenever you get that feeling, and this is something I still get for a while, I sort of had this point in my life where I wasn't enjoying making money as much as I used to. And the dopamine really wasn't hitting as much as it used to, right? But I've kind of got that back. And I think that kind of remembering where you came from and remembering the roots of kind of everything as a whole is super, super valuable. And when you guys are starting out, that dopamine you get is something that you need to fucking cherish. And I know I sound like a broken record. I know I've said this a million times, but nothing will compare to when you're first starting out on YouTube automation, on dropshipping, on Snapchat shows, whatever it might be. And that feeling of waking up, going to the YouTube studio, seeing your revenue come in for the day, or even laying in bed at like 3 a.m. and just refreshing YouTube Studio to see if your videos are 1 out of 10, to see if your videos are kind of performing well, if revenues even come in. That is a feeling that is untapped by anything I've ever experienced. And of course, guys, the most important thing is a few months ago, I believe maybe like I go ahead and pull up my unscripted channel. Yeah, back here, about 8 months ago, I was of course 19. I was still making a similar amount of money. Of course, health wasn't my main priority at this point. So I'd say that's a massive factor as to why my view and kind of stance on this has changed. But of course, 8 months ago, I was very different to how I am now, right? I lost that dopamine. I lost the enjoyment that I received from waking up every day being excited to fucking grind on stuff. I lost that. So I think always coming back to your roots and always being kind of grateful for the money you make and grateful for that feeling of dopamine and what enjoyability you get from kind of doing this as a whole and being an entrepreneur. Now, guys, this is not made for everybody. I know to some of you guys, you might think this guy's a bit of a dickhead. Don't listen to him. I completely understand. I know this is from a standpoint of somebody that chases the high. I love the feeling of making money. I love the feeling of being an entrepreneur. And of course, that isn't for everybody. Some people are happy the way they are. They're happy to work 9 to 5s. But chances are, if you are watching this video, you're one of those guys that, of course, do want to really grind and kind of get more out of life than working a traditional job or being a part of the school system. Now, I'm not going to try and sell you on my mentorship or sell you on anything today. This was a very different video to my usual kind of style. I kind of hope you enjoyed this. I know it was very different. If you guys hate it, feel free to tell me below. Shut the fuck up. Don't record this type of content again. If you did enjoy it, make sure to subscribe. Leave a comment down below letting me know if you actually enjoyed this and if this is something you want to see on a day-to-day basis, maybe on a third channel. And yes, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.